Welcome to I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Last video, I showed you all how to fix the volume potentiometer board using a donor board from an eBay purchase. This week, we're going to add a Bluetooth module to this thing, bring it to the future a little bit, so that way there's no more tethered cables like this boy here for other Bluetooth modules. That way, we can bring it to the beach or wherever the fuck we feel like. So, I'm gonna go ahead, grab the parts that we need, show you guys what we're gonna install, and then see if it works. Hopefully, I have no idea. Also, I'll leave a link for the other video showing how to replace that volume potentiometer board in the screen above. Let's get to it. Uh-oh. Okay, we're gonna need a couple things to get started here. Right here, what we have is known as a buck circuit. It's gonna help us take down our voltage to nominal voltage for the Bluetooth module. We have the wiring for power in and power out. We have our trusty multimeter from Walmart. Nice Everstart. Should be f***ing great. Should work just as intended. And then we have our Bluetooth module from D-Rock, I don't know, whatever Chinese f***ing part this is. We have a couple wire harnesses specifically for the Bluetooth module here. We're actually gonna end up chopping these leads here. What we have here is a right channel, left channel, and a ground, and that will plug directly into one of these two ports here. We could also run an AUX, or I don't remember what the other options were, but we could run an AUX. There's also a option to run this off of a micro USB, but we're gonna go with a direct power in right here. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then there's the final piece here. This is a power on button, well, power on, power off button. This power on, power off button, we're gonna put directly on the back of the box so it won't be seen from the front, which will hopefully look nice. And it has a nice little blue ring around it that we're also gonna tap into for the little blue LED that is on this thing, so that way we know that it's functioning correctly. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started on the soldering of the leads for the buck circuit, and then we will test our nominal voltage, make sure that everything's working here. Then we'll tear open the boombox and start soldering our leads in there. All right, we have our solder gun nice and warmed up. I'm sitting at 710 degrees. Just clean her off real quick before we get started. We're gonna go ahead and put this buck circuit in one of these clamps here. We're gonna go ahead and start by rigging up the out, and it is actually marked. I don't know if I can get that in the camera. It is actually marked for in and out, so we're gonna start with the outside, then we'll go to the inside and rig our power leads. I'm gonna take a decent amount of length here, just in case. I'm gonna go ahead and take about a foot and some change of wire to see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and match that lead to our ground lead. Looks like it's a little kinked right here, so I'm gonna take that piece off first. Okay. So, matching the positive to the ground lead, just so that way we have similar lengths. Nice. Okay, we're gonna strip this thing real quick. I hope my Walmart strippers don't take off too much or ruin these. I don't know. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Let's see, and look at that, perfect strippage. So we're gonna put this and we're gonna fish it through the outside negative. There's a little hole in the board, it makes it a little bit easier. And we're gonna go ahead and solder that joint. I do have some liquid flux. I've never used liquid flux before. I just don't have regular flux, so I don't know how this is gonna pan out. Hopefully well, we'll just have to see. Dab a little bit on, dab a little bit on there, and we're gonna give it a shot. What they recommend typically is pre-tinning your solder iron, so I'm gonna do that real quick. A little bit of pre-tin on there. Okay, I'm just gonna clip that lead because now it's driving me nuts, being a kind of a dude. There we go. All right, let me take a look here. Yeah, I don't know about the liquid flux. I mean, it worked, but it's not very clean looking, that's for sure. Also, I'm gonna turn on this fan real quick. I apologize for the noise. I just don't wanna breathe this stuff in very much. Lung cancer seems fun and all, but I don't want it. All right, I'm gonna go back in and try and melt this lead. I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Now we're cooking. All right, now we fixed that pad a little bit too. It looks a lot better now. So this one is officially connected. Gonna move on to the positive side. I'm gonna just inspect that solder lead real quick here. Make sure I didn't do any damage to the board. Again, first time using liquid flux, not ideal, I don't think. But it did do its job, so. It says don't get on skin. I can only imagine why. So we're gonna clip the extra amount of cable off of here. That's nice and done. This is done. So now we're gonna move over to the outside. In the positive section of this board here, we're gonna use our strippers again, wherever, oh, there, like, bloop. Nice. So we're doing, just repeating, rinse and repeat basically on this side. You ever fish a thread through a needle with like really shaky hands? Oh, I think I got it, there we go. It's in. Now we just gotta do the thing again. So some liquid flux, just a smidge. Beautiful. And our soldering iron. I think we just need a little bit of extra flux, actually. Okay. I'm gonna try and clean some of that liquid flux up real quick. There is quite a bit on the board, but those two joints actually look really decent now that I've got my groove down here. So we're gonna go ahead and clean those up just real quick. I think on the next ones, I'm gonna try and face them this way. I mean, they're fine for now because where I'm gonna put them in the box, it's not really gonna matter, but I'd rather them go out, and out. All right, so I'm gonna get some isopropyl alcohol in here. Gosh, this stuff is sticky. Okay, I'm gonna get some ISO real quick. Just clean that off because that stuff is nasty. Seems to clean off pretty nicely with some ISO though, so it shouldn't be a big deal. I'm gonna just go ahead and get a little bit on this Q-tip here and clean up around those joints. Just get some of this solder, some of this flux off of here. Yeah, everything looks nice and tidy, so we should be good there. Nice and clean. Next, we have the ins and out, or we have the inside for our power leads. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the in negative side. And once again, we're gonna use a little bit over a foot, just for good measure, on our power leads. And also keeping both of them the same length, just so that we have it to work with. Just like that. And get our wire strippers in here. We'll go with, I believe this is the negative first, it is. So strip our wire, just like this. Beautiful. All right, threading a needle again, just like sewing. Your boy's got some fat ass fingers, so. Okay, we have our negative sitting there. Let's load a little bit of liquid flux onto it, and then we'll solder. Technically that worked, just not a very great looking joint, but that's all right. We'll move on. All right, so now we're moving on to the positive in for the buck circuit. Positive in now. Let's go ahead and stretch this my way a little bit so I can actually see it. Take this guy here and nice. You know, these strippers aren't disappointing me today. They're not disappointing me today at all. I remember one time one did disappoint me. It was at a club in Biloxi, but that's not what we're talking about here. I don't know why I always have to make a stripper joke every time the wire strippers come out. I think it's just easy. All right. No. Fuck, almost lost all the liquid flux. Okay, dropping a little bit of liquid flux on again. A little bit extra this time because that last run didn't really work out super well. I believe we got it on the first try. That's nice. First one that's went well. Maybe that gives me hope for later. All right. Clean up my station a little bit here. Oh, there's a bunch of really sticky f***s sitting everywhere. And I am saying flux, not f***. Clean it with some isopropyl again. Get the goop off the board. Make it nice and pretty. So that way she looks nice when we put it in the box. Okay. I think we have done it. I think we've done our job. Yeah, some residue left on the wires here. I'm just gonna rub it in the ISO that's on the table and clean it off because that's just annoying. It's like touching molasses or honey. Just gross. Okay, perfect. Clip this last tail and we'll be good here. Last tail's clipped, so we have our 2 out leads going out to the Bluetooth module, and 2 in leads coming from the boombox power. So we'll set that to the side for now. Okay, welcome back to this thing. Gotta do the thing I did last week and take off all this tape. There we go. There we go. Very good, very good. Once again, 10D batteries. 10D batteries. 10 of D's, I mean, no, just 10D batteries. All right, you guys have a better vantage point this time than last time. So I'll re-show you where all the screws are. So we have a screw in the battery box right here. We have another screw right here in the corner. In the middle of this side, in the corner right here, there are 3 along the top, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. There's a screw over here, there's a screw over here, there's a screw in the corner here, and there's another screw at the bottom here. So, oh, and the middle. There's a middle screw here, and there's one right here that's blends in with the box that I almost forgot about last time for the line in. So, once again, here, 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 and here, and here, and there, and here. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through this process again so that way you guys don't have to sit there and watch. Welcome back to the inside of this boombox. Okay, we're gonna move the main body of the box to the side for now because we're actually not gonna be needing that for a while. Eventually, we're gonna be tying into these 2 solder leads here and the ground solder lead here. So we're gonna actually be tying into these 2 and this one here. Well, one of these 2. It doesn't really matter which, it just needs a ground, reliable ground. So we'll clean that up and we'll tap into these guys. Not prepared to breathe that in, no sir. All right, I'm gonna shut this fan off because we're not gonna be soldering for a little bit. I think we're gonna put this buck circuit. After looking at the box, it shouldn't be in the way of pretty much anything. We're gonna put this buck circuit right here, just like that. And then we're gonna put the Bluetooth chip up here, just like this. And then what we're gonna do with the Bluetooth chip when we run these wires is we're actually gonna put a disconnect on them. And the way that this is laid out right now, it's in reverse, but The way that this is laid out right now, the main board goes here and actually gets propped up right here and here. So the main board and our little input that we need is right here. So we're actually gonna take our input leads from here and just kind of run them through so that way it's out of the way. But yeah, we're gonna put a disconnect somewhere over here so that way whenever I have to take off the back again, hopefully not very soon, we can disconnect the board fairly easily. So we're actually gonna solder into the main leads for the board. Dang it. Ooh, I don't know. I still don't know if this was done by someone or if this was done by the company. Because it looks like with this here, which is really not, I feel like, normal. I don't think that's, the company's gonna put a house wire nut on this thing. And these solder joints just look like straight shit. So I think somebody may have done this because this solder joint looks like ass. This solder joint looks like ass. And these two solder joints also look like ass. So I think somebody may have been in here before me. And that's, I mean, that's fine. It works. So they did it. They just look like shit. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to, let's see here. This is the power in side. So we're going to basically put this guy right here. Going to glue these boys down and run them nice and smoothly over to here. And then we'll run these cables probably up through this, like, we'll probably go this way, run it up through the center line here, and then end them right here. So it'll look nice and smooth from the outside. And then that, yeah, no, it'll look nice and smooth from the outside, just like that. I'm a little scared to solder on the boards for the box itself. Just sketches me out a little bit. Also, I'm gonna flip this thing back around my way. I know you guys won't be able to see it as well because of the battery. Well, I guess I won't be able to see it as well, but that's fine. I'll just keep it cocked like this. Hopefully y'all can see everything in here. Yeah, these two solder leads are just crap. I mean, they're almost like blown through the board. I don't know why. It looks like something used to be soldered here too. I'm not gonna mess with a winning formula here, just a little concerned at what I'm looking at. Okay, we're just gonna do this the most professional way, and we're gonna use some hot glue to glue down our components here. I don't know, the hot glue isn't quite ready yet. So in the meantime, let's take a look at our cables here. Go ahead and give myself a little bit of extra length at the moment. Right here. So this one's gonna go right over to here. So we have a little bit of extra length there just in case I ruin something. And with the ground, same deal, give myself about that much extra length. Okay. Gonna strip them real quick as soon as I figure out where my strippers are. Here. And pretty much same all the way across the board. We're gonna strip these bad boys like, just like that. Try not to leave too much extra this time, because if I take off too much, then we're gonna have possible issues with connectivity later. Just in case it decides to bridge anything. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some ISO and clean our surfaces here real nice. So that way we can get a good seal with that hot glue. And the one I'm using is actually industrial grade hot glue. So it should hold for a long, long time. Of course, unless I needed to take something back off, in which case all I would have to do really is just reheat it with a heat gun and pull it off. So it's kind of why I like using hot glue on these kind of projects, just to make sure that I can still pop things off and I'm not like damaging the body fully or anything like that. So we have this guy that's gonna go right there. I'm kind of putting things where I think they'll work out well. So I think we're good on that. All right, let's see, is this hot glue gun doing, oh, it's doing hot glue stuff. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hot glue this bad boy in. Cheap and easy, but efficient. Okay, so now that I have that in a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and put some glue over the ends just to make sure that she stays in place and that also like our wires don't move. Also, it's kind of like an encased thing. If it does come into contact with anything, at least those open faces of those wires won't be open anymore. So that'll work pretty good. All right, so next step, we're gonna solder these 2 power leads, which means I need to turn this back on. We got the fan back on. Okay, all right. Sponge is still wet, and I think we're gonna go with the ground first. It looks a little bit like there's a lot of solder built up on it, so it might be easier to deal with. Let's see how that goes. Not good. Not good at all. Breathing in a lot of fumes here. Not paying attention to where I'm setting this soldering iron, so that's good. Dude, this is a hard solder joint to get to. I do not like it. Not the prettiest joint ever, but it'll work. Okay, not looking forward to doing this second one here, just because that first one went so terribly annoying. I think we did okay though. I don't think any of the pads got ruined. Here goes nothing, I suppose. There we go. I thought we had it. We did not. I think we got it that time though. Yep, we did. Okay, so we're in. Not great looking, but we're in. All right, so now we have power to this guy, in theory. We need to, actually also, I forgot earlier because I'm fucking dumb. We need to get power to this guy too, and it has 4 leads for, this is the in and out for the Bluetooth, and this one is actually to light up the center of this button here, so that way we know the Bluetooth has power when we kick this thing on. These are all 12 and 24 volts. That Bluetooth chip actually runs at 12 volts. It'll run from 5 to 12, and this one is 12 to 24, so we're probably just gonna go to 12. This board and this box runs at 14.4, I think. If I remember correctly reading that, 14.4 volts, so we're gonna go ahead and just run her down to 12 with this little buck circuit guy. That thing's nice and in there now. It ain't moving. All right, so we need to run this over here. We're gonna drill a hole right through that and put that button there. And I think is a good spot. Yeah, it looks like a good spot, so pretty much right there. So this is gonna go here. We're gonna wire these wires to this guy first, then we're gonna run this guy into this guy. Then we need to run the audio cable. So right now we have this guy into the power mains. Should be good, I think. Looks okay, vaguely. Hopefully it doesn't blow up as soon as I turn it on. We can turn this back off so that way you guys don't have to hear all that droning in the background. So this lead we're gonna take along the bottom here, and then we're gonna come around the corner here and then meet up with this guy here. So what we're gonna do basically is lay these wires out nice and flat and even. Doesn't mean it's gonna work out perfectly, because I've done this before on other projects and sometimes it really does not work out and I end up burning the absolute shit out of myself. So basically making a band of glue to keep these wires down and happy in their new homes. It's a long and arduous process, but it works great. So okay, that's nice and at least dry enough to move on to the next one, which I'll put right here near this corner. Well, you know, put it a little bit closer to the corner, like right there. Probably burn myself in the process, because that's how we roll. Okay, I'm gonna give that a second to cool here. So basically, we're gonna come up and around. Give that a second to dry. All right, that's pretty dry. So the positive needs to go to this right here. And then the negative needs to go around this guy into here. I think I'm gonna run it, let's see here, I'm gonna run it this way, around this bend here, and then over to here. And then we'll glue down this board once I have 2 leads into that. All right, I made an oopsie. Off camera. I try to bend these contacts out just a little bit to give it a little extra clearance, and I broke this, and I really hope that this switch still works, because I didn't buy a backup switch for this, which was stupid of me, but you know, worst comes to worst, I guess hot glue will probably do it. I just need to see where it broke down at. No, I think it'll still work. Let me see. I'm gonna check continuity real quick and see if it still works. That'll be the easiest way to test this. Okay, the switch still works. I just need to make sure I glue this lead in so it doesn't move. So let me glue this lead in real quick. Actually, you know what? Yeah, no, let's glue this lead in real quick. I don't wanna have this thing not do its job, because the lead moves while we're working on it. And then dangerously, we're gonna solder this joint, because I think that's the best course of action here. But you know, of course, I got hot glue on the dang thing now, so hopefully that's not a big deal. Should be able to just burn right through it, honestly. Which is, again, really good to breathe in. Highly recommend. Should be great. Should really do good on the lungs here. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna bridge a positive to the positive, because this needs an input as well to turn on the light, to make sure, like, when we press the button that this also turns on. So this would have to be the incoming positive, so it needs to be these guys right here, and then a negative. What we'll do is we'll just split the negative here, and then I'll run a new negative to here. So I guess probably I'll do that. So let's just start with that. We'll go ahead and split that right here. Move the box towards me again, so that way I can solder some stuff. I almost made a genius mistake here, and that is that I need to drill the hole first and then solder, because otherwise I'd be screwed. I'm gonna go find a drill bit that fits this thing. Okay, I got a drill bit with the right size here. We're gonna move this out of the way, and I'm gonna draw in where it's going if I can find my there it is, my Sharpie, so that way I hit nice and in the center of that. Yeah, that's a good spot right there. So as long as we hit in the center of that, it should be nice and clean, and it will still be able to screw in, which is important. Ow, of course. Burned myself in every video, I think. I am left-handed, so this is difficult. There we go, let's see here. Just the placement is anyway. All right, I mean, that'll do it. That's close enough, hopefully. Now I gotta gently drill out 40-year-old plastic, essentially, and hope that my plan works here. All right, so I gotta hold this thing up and try and hold the drill as steady as possible in the center. There's a big hole too. There we go. Now we got her. Oh, smelling nice, hot, burning plastic. It's always nice. Look at all that. All right, I think we have the right size hole here. Let's check it real quick. It'd suck if I had to go back in and try and mill some stuff out. I hate doing that. You know, dang it. She's not quite on key here. Nope, not quite on point. All right, let's try and just wiggle a bit around a little bit. See if we can clean it up just a smidge. Hopefully that did it. It was only off by a little bit, so it'd be nice if that did. Oh, it did the trick. We're in, baby. Okay, this is our button placement right here. So that's where that's gonna go. And basically you're just gonna, right there, Bluetooth on. So that's perfect. I love that, actually. That's how the kids say dope. So let me screw in that nut. and then we'll get to wiring. At this point I can solder leads onto here. Yeah, that button's nice and flush. It almost feels like it should have just been there the whole time. So what I'm gonna do to lock in the nut is I actually put just a little bit, like a little dab of hot glue right on the edge here. Just so that way that nut doesn't move. Next step is soldering leads from and to this button here. Let's see here. So our negative needs to be soldered in and then soldered out. This positive and this positive need to be soldered together. So we're gonna get a small lead of wire for that. Okay. Once again, threading it through. That time it went easy. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop this positive, put it here, twist these two together, put them in, and then solder that lead. So let's do this. Trim it. Strip it. Twist these boys together. And now we have that guy there. So that'll be good when we go to solder. If I can just push this back a little bit. No, I ain't gonna push back. That's fine. We'll solder it this way. Okay, now I need a negative. I need two negatives to come together. We're gonna just add this length of wire here to this negative. We don't need it that long, but we'll just keep it that long anyways for now. Strip it. Like that. Make sure that end's nice and not frayed. And then strip this guy. Come on. Come on. Maybe I shouldn't have glued it down first. Alright, strip this guy just like that. That's plenty. Not frayed. Now this is a tiny hole for these two wires to go through. I hope it fits well enough. That's what she said. Gotta add in that joke every once in a while. Alright, yeah, no, it fit. So we gotta solder that lead too. And basically, what we're doing with this lead, there's two negatives. It's because we gotta run a negative out to the Bluetooth board. The original wire harness looks kind of weird. I don't know why they did it this way. I guess maybe I'm just dumb and there's definitely a specific reason. So these are the LED wires. No, I'm sorry. These are the LED wires. So you got the positive and negative there, and these two are the on switch wires. So basically positive in, positive out. So I don't know why they didn't just integrate this positive with like the positive in. Maybe there's a reason for that. I'm not sure. Because I mean, I know that these are supposed to go directly to the battery. I mean, this is an automotive switch, so these would go directly to the battery, and then these would come off of whatever thing you're trying to turn on and off. But I mean, technically speaking, this would come off the battery too, and then this would be like the on and off section of it. So I don't know why they wouldn't just run these two together and then get a separate ground, but I'm not the guy who built it, so it really doesn't matter to me. All right, so let's solder what we have so far, and then we'll solder the last cable by itself. So let's solder what we have so far, and then we'll figure out chip placement and we'll get that in. Okay, and then a little bit of flux doesn't hurt nobody, except for everything I've done tonight, but that's not its fault. That's just how I am. Okay, soldering this connection. That should do it. What I'll do at the end of this is I'll cover these boys in tape, so that way it's just, I mean, tape's not the most pretty and most professional thing ever, but at least they'll be nice and covered. They won't look like complete ass, and just eliminate any of the potential for these metal contacts to hit anything. Okay, that's number one soldered. Number two coming up. Did that work? Nope, that's still pretty loose. Okay, try it again. We'll go from the other side this time. Here I am forgetting to turn on the fan again, so just breathing all these fumes in beautifully as per usual. I'm trying to get this guy to wrap around here so that way it's nice and snug, because this is a way smaller lead to be soldering two cables on than the other one is. Okay, that should do it. That should do it. All right, now we can solder that guy too. We're gonna sprinkle a little bit more flux on there because a lot of it came off. There we go. I'm gonna turn this fan back on so I don't die. Yep, that definitely did it. Okay, so we got these guys nice and soldered in, and we'll get those glued down here in a second, along with running this cable over yonder. Final cable we have left is a positive lead, of which I have right here. So let's strip this guy, get this one in, and then we're pretty much golden on that. These all feel nice and taut. Maybe not the cleanest looking things ever, but they're nice and taut, so that's good. They always told me it never amount to nothing. And I tell you what, they're probably right. But at least I can solder some neat shit into a board, huh? Or into a boombox, whatever. You know what the fuck. There we go. It's the cleanest one I've done so far. Looks great. Okay, solder gun out of the way, hot glue gun in the way. All right, so we got these leads. Oh boy, that was not good. We're gonna go ahead and re-glue that guy because that glue melted up real bad. As you remember, I pretty much broke this post here, so that should hold that in place hopefully. We'll go ahead and not wait for that to dry. We'll go ahead and take a look at. So this is our leads right here. On our Bluetooth chips, positive, negative. All right, doesn't matter. Let's see here. Let me clean out some of these little cable pieces. Try and glue these guys down, I guess. Again, more than likely fry my hands in the process because that's usually how she goes. All right. This actually wouldn't be a bad time to check voltage coming in, because right now there's no really that exposed of wire, so I'm probably gonna do that real quick. Nothing bad's happening yet, so I think we did okay. Let's see what our voltage input is to the box itself, the box leads, and then we'll check our voltage on our new leads coming into the switch, and then we'll check if the switch itself works still. Okay, we got that one. And we should have like 14-ish. What? 8 volts? No, there's no way it's 8 volts. We may have a problem. Oh, you know why we have a problem? Because I had it on DC. Let's switch it back to AC. Oh boy, that was stupid of me. There we go. We got our nice little light on our doohickey, which means I probably did a good job. Okay, now we can check our voltage. Should be about 14.4. 17.42, it's actually really high. I didn't expect that. 17.43, wow, okay. So we're gonna check our ends over here. Let's take a look. 16.75, we need to get that down a little bit. Oh, you know what? I'm also gonna check if the button works real quick here. See if that works. Okay, that works. Does the LED on it work? Yep, everything about that works. So our system works here. Does the LED shut off now? All right, so on this buck circuit, I need to turn her down a little. All right, I'm back with a different toolkit. We need a really small screwdriver, flathead specifically. All right, so we have this screwdriver, and what we're doing is we're turning down the buck circuit from its current voltage down to 12. And also, I'm probably going to change this wire position from this lead to that lead, because I want this button to turn on when the power is on only. Still reading 16.8. What the actual f***? Alright, sorry about that. I had to figure out what was going on with that buck circuit. It turns out it is working, it just was being a pain in the ass. Right now we're sitting at 11.99, just below that 12 volt mark, so that way we don't overload anything by accident. Okay, what we can do is we're actually going to glue that screw right here at the top of the potentiometer to make sure that it doesn't move from base or any of that crap. So it's gonna basically be 11.98 forever. Just like that, sealed her fate. Okay, what I want to do now is I want to actually test the switch and make sure that still works, because the switch is 12 volt to 24, but 11.99 it should still function. So we should be getting 12 volts to both sides of the switch. 11.98, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, we're getting good voltage across the board now, which means we can go ahead and power this thing off and get it wired up to our Bluetooth circuit. So I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this because I don't want to get the shit shocked out of me. So I'm gonna clip this real quick and hopefully have just enough lead left over to move it to the other side. Yeah, that's plenty. Okay, let me strip this again, and then I'm gonna solder this thing down real quick, and then we'll move on to the placement of the Bluetooth board. There we go. That's actually all right. That's an okay amount of wire. All I'm gonna do is tap it in, so that way I don't have to like put more flux on and stuff. Oh crap! I unplugged the soldering iron. I forgot. Okay, well, let's wait for that to heat up then. Real quick, while we're waiting on that to heat up, go ahead and take a look at our board placement. So we're gonna go pretty much right next to this thing. So this lead is gonna go in here. So let's take a look, seeing how much we're gonna need on that, because I'm gonna try and get these wires nice and taut. So we're gonna need about this much here. Okay, strip that guy. We're still waiting on the soldering iron to heat up a little bit. Strip it. Bloop. I'm pretty sure these are just like crimp style connects on these things. I didn't read the instructions, because why would I do that? That seems just dumb to me. Yep, that's what I thought. So these are the style connectors where when you shove it in there, it has teeth that grab automatically. Matter of fact, let's take a look at the instruction manual, since I don't know anything. See, what I love about Chinese garbage is that it doesn't really give you the best look at everything. It just says wiring connection and not how to like connect the wires properly. When connecting wires, gently press down on the parts to release the spring clips. Huh? Wait. Gently press down on the parts to release the spring clips. Same order when okay. I see. So basically I need to push down on these gently, and then it should slide in a little bit more easily. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's cool. I'm gonna glue these wires down anyway, so they shouldn't really have any chance of moving. I probably should have put a fuse in line with all this, just because it concerns me that something may come loose, and you never know, because that would fry like the box itself, because the ground is blah 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 blah. Okay, so we got that lead. Now we just need to figure out this lead and its length and make them about the same. Probably should have just snipped it whilst I had the other one up, but that's okay. This is a learning experience for everybody, not just me. So we got this boy snipped and snipped, and then that's also ready to go into the board, and then we'll check power one more time. All right, so then we gotta shove that thing in there. And so gently press on the springy thing, of which I can barely feel that, like, oh wait, I heard it open, so there, that's in. Okay, they're both in. Neat. All right, now we can test the power just real quick. Actually, you know what? We're gonna solder this cable down first, since I have the solder gun up and running. I'm gonna solder this guy real quick here. That should be a little bit better, I guess. All right, the glue's cooled back down. Now that light should only power on when the button turns on. So, son of a bitch. Oh man, this new outlet that I just got, you know, it's real tight. It's real tight. A little too tight, if we're honest. Some might say the tightest. Who knows? I don't say that, but some might say that. Okay, anyway, what was I doing? Oh, right, plugging in the box to see what kind of power we got going on here and testing all of our fun options again, making sure that we're still at 1188 nominally. Okay, let's take a look, make sure that we're still chilling at 11.8. $11.98, yep. And then technically speaking, this one should have no power to it right now. Yep. Okay, now when I turn this switch on, we should see the Bluetooth module come on, and it does, which means we have power there. So we need to check this real quick. 11.96, whatever. It is good enough to turn everything on. Now, does the button turn on when I... Yep, that button turns on when the Bluetooth is on only, and that was the goal. Okay, so that works. Let's get that chip glued in place, and then get the wires put in to the chip, and then we are going to move on to the box itself, because we're going to put in the wires to the box first, and then put the wires to here. And all we're going to do is we're actually going to, instead of soldering any of these connections, we're going to take some of basically these guys right here, these little slide clips, these little wire connectors, so that way I can detach the back from the box still without having to desolder or clip wires. So we're gonna go ahead and attach this board real quick. Okay, so the output terminal is in fact this output terminal, or is in fact this terminal right here. So we just need to get that little cover out of there, and then we should be good to go. So this cover pops out like so. One of these boys will go in here like so eventually, but I'm gonna glue down this board first and then we'll deal with that. So I think, looking at this board should be fine being where it is right now. So we're gonna do that. Gonna dump a bunch of hot glue there and then move it around a little bit, really sandwich that shit out. All right, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and glue down the corners through what would normally be screw holes. Okay, the other thing we're gonna do with the glue gun real quick, since we still have it out, is we are going to go ahead and smother these boys in glue, essentially sealing them off from making contact once we put this thing back on the boombox. All right, so I'm gonna wait for those to dry real quick, and then we'll move on to getting these wires glued down. And then I think we'll move on to the box after that. We're almost done. We got 2 wires to put in at the box, 3 wires to put in at the box, 3, and then we'll be good. Okay, everything's pretty much cooled down at the moment. Let's see, these should be pretty well sealed off, I would think. Yeah, they are. The next thing we have to do is glue down these wires here, so that way they're nice and taut inside the box instead of being all over the place. So let's take a look at our locations here for glue. I'm gonna go ahead and glue one right there. I'm still shocked I have not burned myself yet. Usually I end up burning the absolute shit out of myself, so far, honestly, doing a great job. Okay, we'll just glue down these 2 wires here. Tell you what, man, hot glue is a great invention. Now we wait again. Do 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 do. Waiting for the hot glue. Do 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 do. When will it dry? Holy shit, I'm waiting tonight. Do 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 do. We only have one more cable to really glue down, so this is almost done. All right, sweet, that looks pretty good. Everything's nice and cleanly. one more glue joint, and then we'll power it on one more time, and then we'll work on the audio side of things. If I ever sound more tired towards the end of these videos, it's because I am. I actually have a 2-year-old boy, and I film these videos late at night, so that way it's quiet in the house, and that way I can get work done and not cut into my time with him. So, because I also work a many-hour job, so I do get tired at the end of these videos, because I also still wake up early, even though I go to bed at like 5 a.m. Because currently, as I'm gluing this in right now, it is 2:09. So we probably still have another hour or so left to go on this project, and you know, never mind me doing cutting and filming and all that other stuff. So it can be quite exhausting. It can be quite exhausting. But I figured this would be neat for people to see, and I like doing it. So okay. I'm gonna stack those batteries back in here and test that the batteries at least work with the circuit. DC power on. That's on. That's on. Is the Bluetooth on? Oh, we're golden. We're golden. All right, perfect. So with the test with the batteries, the Bluetooth does in fact still function. So does the buck circuit. So does everything else. So, oh, well, just vomit those out. Why don't you? Okay, so we're good there. Now that part's tested. Let's get to getting that wire harness ready. This is our audio component cable. So we're going to split one end off and then use the other end to plug in. So I'm going to cut this end off right here. So we're going to clip this right here as close to this connector as possible, since we won't be using it. And these are our leads. We're going to use our wire stripper and create longer leads, so that way I'm not messing around with short ones. Well, that just made everything so nice in there. Holy crap. Okay, so just like last week when we were dealing with the other audio cables on the inside of the box, our ground is just one twisted cable around two smaller cables, which is, I said it in the last video, is just the fucking best. It is so great to see that every time. So we got this cable here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these boys here, set that down right there. Our smallest crimps are these red ones. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this guy, run it, actually snip off some of this heat shrink wrap that's on it. Okay, that is better. And then we're gonna crimp the thing. Looks pretty flimsy even. Oh well, now I just need to strip these two wires. Might still have enough to be able to use it. And we're gonna do the same thing with this and get rid of the heat shrink tubing. We'll go ahead and put the white one in there. Okay. We'll give it a little tug test here. Oh, I got it. Then we just have the red left here. Okay. So we got this part done. We're gonna need 1, 2, 3 of these. Those will be our little quick connects. This guy can be plugged into here now. It's gonna go and live out its life. Nice. That's not just gonna slide out. Nope. So, and what I'm gonna actually do is I'm gonna actually glue this down just a little bit, so that way it's not super long in here. Like that. Okay, this is held down a little bit. I think I want one more right here, just to give it some more hold down. But also give it like just enough to have some flex to it, so that way when I pull the back of this box off, inevitably again, it'll have a little bit of leeway. I'm gonna go by the measurement of these wires here for our wires to connect audio. Come on, dang it. Because that seems like a fairly good length. way, everything's pretty much ready to roll. Okay, now we just have the white wire left. And then basically we just have some soldering to do, and then we can test. So white wire to cut, good to go. Let's just do these one at a time real quick. White, red, black, and white. And we'll go ahead and snip to get this thing to pretty much seat all the way in there. And then we will actually heat shrink this one because that'll make for a nice seal. Since these ones will be the mobile, the wires that end up moving the most when you go to take the back of the box off in the future. That seems like a decent crimp. So let's go ahead and heat shrink that with a lighter. That one's ready to roll. Let her cool down. Next, do the black wire. Alright, so black and white done, red, final wire on the list. Alright, we got our 3 wires with our little doohickeys on them. So 2 positive leads are these leads right here. These guys right here. So I'm thinking that the negative should in theory be these guys. I'm not entirely sure about that. I wish I was. But I don't see any other leads on it. And the center of RCA cables is the positive. And the exterior is the negative. So I'm going to go with that because these are further back and they come out directly of the center. You couldn't really see it in there. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I think these jackets actually sit over a plastic piece, which then goes through here, which I can feel on the other side. So negative, positive, positive. So we'll start with right channel, which is this guy right here. So we're going to do one at a time to make sure we don't drop out this RCA jack. Alright, right channel, left channel, which is weird when you're looking at it, but I guess if you're looking at the box it makes sense, right and left. So right channel, left channel, round. So going with the red first. So we're gonna tin this wire up a little bit first, so that way it has an easier time getting on the thingy. I forgot to turn on the fan again. I do a great job of that. Turning on this fan. That helps me not breathe in harmful chemicals. Alright, we're fluxed up, boy. So all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and use the solder joint that already pre-exists there. Just like that. That went absolutely smoother than I could have ever asked for. The lead's a little long, but I don't think it's going to hit anything, so we should be good like that. Okay. Now we have our next wire, which is our left channel, which is white. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and pre-tin it, so that way it's nice and ready to roll when she gets on there. Pre-tinned, as is the soldering iron. Some liquid flux. Get it all over there. There we go. And now we are ready to roll. Okay, that one's good. And now we just have the final one, the ground, going better than I could have expected. Okay, so final wire. It's going to be our ground. Like I said, I believe this is our ground here. I'm not positive, but we're going to give it a shot. So we're going to pre-tin this wire just like we pre-tin the other ones, which made that a little bit easier, I think. Pre-tin. Good old pre-tin. Okay, now we need our liquid flux again. Liquid flux acquired. Did I put enough on there? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Attached. It's not great, but it's attached. Okay, now a really important test is coming, and this is the make or break moment of this video. Alright, I gotta get the back of the box, and then we'll throw it together for a test, and then we'll put it back together if everything works out. So, okay, we need the 2 pins. Positive on the ground, and there, positive goes there. I would explain what's happening right now, but it's not really that important. The only important thing is we have these wires hooked up to these leads, and that these wires are hooked up to their leads. And actually, we're pretty much ready to test right now. We just need to get it plugged in, and then get my phone wherever that is. Should be good. Nothing goofy happens. I'm really upset if this thing didn't work out that well. Okay, AC is on. See if the box turns on. See, that's what I was worried about. Son of a bitch. Not good. Not good. Okay, so new plan. So that hum was eliminated by throwing the Bluetooth circuit onto a different power source. So what we're gonna have to do is figure out how to accommodate 3 18650s into the box in a way where we can still get to them to charge them, but also in a way where it doesn't compromise the box itself. Okay, we're back 2 days later with some parts. I had to come up with a new plan, considering the other plan didn't work. So we don't really need this buck circuit anymore. What we do need is this guy right here. There's a 12-volt lithium-ion rechargeable battery, and the only reason we're 2 days later is because it took Amazon a couple days to get this thing here. So my plan here now is, instead of routing anything into this guy, we're just going to go directly into the switch there. And what we're going to do, essentially, is punch a hole. Actually, you know what? We may not even have to. There's a hole right here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to put this guy in through this hole right here. And this is going to be our battery connection for this guy here. And this guy, I'm going to unplug it from its charger now that it's completely charged. Yeah, this guy is going to fit right in here. Or not. It's not going to fit. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to mount this guy directly to the inside of the boombox. And we're going to have to drill a hole, like actually drill a hole, to accommodate this charging cable right here, because this is the charger for this battery. So this case, instead of using this guy, which I thought we were going to do, this battery case should fit right about here between the box and the woofer without getting in the way. You know, I think we'll actually have plenty of room if we mount it there. That's what we're going to do. We're going to mount it right here. We're going to mount it right here. I don't think it should get in the way of anything closing up nicely. So we're going to go ahead and rip up some of these lines, and my plan is here still to, I'm probably gonna run the cables for this thing out into that hole. I do still need to make a bigger hole for this. Okay, so we're gonna come in through the side. We're gonna actually take this hole that's already pre-existing and just drill it out. And then we're gonna go in through the side with that. There's a weird angle to get at, especially when I'm trying not to break any plastic posts, but we're gonna try it. Like that. Just like that. Did I break anything? No, that would have really sucked. Take this a different approach here. That should do it. Where did I just put the... Did I mar up my table? No. I'm shocked. I did not mar up my table. Good for me. Cool. I just put the thing somewhere that I need. And oh, there we go. Try to get some of this excess plastic out of here. Sorry if my hand is blocking the way at the moment. It won't be here in a second. It's not quite large enough. Okay, back to it. I do have a Dremel out in the garage, by the way. I mean, I do have a multitude of tools to do things. I just am lazy. And I've already started this video, so. And a drill bit, if you use it like a mill, works pretty much the same way. And, dude, just this, oh, wait, there we go. See, you got it just the right size there. So that is awesome. And we're gonna pull this thing on through here. I said pull this thing on through here, dang it. We'll get the battery mounted. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna get the hot glue gun ready. We're gonna glue down this battery right into this little section here, which will give us plenty of space from everything. And then we'll glue up the hole where that charging cable goes through, so that way that doesn't move very much. And then we'll run these guys back through this channel here, directly onto this line here, which will give us a nice clearance of everything else. So that should pretty much work. And then we'll have our very own Bluetooth battery operated system. It should last a pretty long time considering it's powering such a small unit. So you shouldn't have to charge it super often. All right, let me move this guy a little bit out of the way for the moment so I can pull these wires out. Okay, now that I got those wires pulled, once again, I'm not gonna be able to get, oh no, I did get this hot glue off. Or, oh yeah, there we go, look at that. Oh, so that kind of gives me hope, actually. It feels like we could probably pull off the other ones then. They didn't pull that off, that's fine, whatever. It's not gonna hurt nothing on the inside of the box anyways, but it would have been nice to have everything nice and tidy again. Big fan of having a cleaned up system. Make everything look super nice and neat. So that's gonna go there. That means these wires are gonna go like right here. Oh, hello. I said like right here. It's gonna go right next to our audio cables right there. So we're gonna go ahead and chop hopefully just enough off here so we can still lay them in but not have too much extra, so that way they don't dip down and hang out. Clip these boys right there. Okay, hot glue gun should be almost there, and hopefully it'll hold this lithium battery. We're gonna clean up the surface a little bit before we put it in there, of course, but can't imagine why it wouldn't. Maybe mar up the surface a little bit, clean both the battery pack and the whatchamacallit. Let's see, it's actually on a work night right now, and it's already 11 o'clock at night, so I do work a normal job. Scratch it up a little bit because it's just the exterior, it's not the battery itself. So we'll just give it some like scratches to give the battery, or to give the glue some place to grab onto. This is just the outer shell. Okay, so let's get this duster boy. Oh, I almost dropped it. Try and do, so try and mar up this surface the same way. trying to do it the least redneck way possible that I know how to. So, okay, we got some marring there. The hot glue gun should be pretty much ready to roll. It is. So we're gonna go ahead and put a real big dollop of hot glue. And then we should be golden. And no, it's not gonna overheat the battery. Batteries are able to go up to very high temperatures. Might overheat the cellophane, which we'll have to just see how that goes, but the battery itself should be fine. This is gonna drive me nuts. This stupid cable keeps getting stuck somewhere it should not be getting stuck at. And this glue is very much cooling down very quickly. About as in as she's ever gonna be right there. And what we'll do is we'll finish up the edges with some hot glue too. We'll mar up around the battery itself. And then put some hot glue down. So she's pretty well in there at the moment. I don't think I have to hold it down anymore. So we're gonna mar up around the battery itself. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and put that guy off to the side. Pull these guys a little bit off to the side too, just to not get them stuck in a bunch of hot glue. Little encasement, just like that. Little encasement of the battery. And what we'll do is we'll cool it down rapidly with the canned air. Hot glue is pretty much cooled down, and we can lift the box with it, or with the battery now. So I'm pretty confident that that's not going to move anywhere. At least I think. Yeah, that thing's pretty in there, man. She ain't going nowhere. All right, so we got to get the electrical connected next. So let's see where that's going to end up putting us. That's going to put us right around here. So I just wish this thing would sit down a little bit lower than where it's at. I guess we could put it right here. Put it right here, and then we can glue these cables in after this is glued in. It should have enough room to not be a problem, I would think. We're gonna do that same marring thing on this thing here because it's pretty smooth. Nice and marred up. Let's go ahead and get this canned air up in there. Okay. Again, nice and clean. Good. All right, let's strip these boys real quick so that way we have something to work with. Normally I would have soldered these leads in, but to be honest, with this quick connect here and how this battery's already a live battery, a live source, I don't really feel like hurting myself that way. So we're just gonna go with that quick connect because it's already available to us. To me, I don't know, I keep saying that. So, I mean, I know y'all are here too, technically in spirit, but it's just me doing this shit in the middle of the night. Ah, burnt the absolute f out of my finger. Holy shit. It's always a yes, daddy, for that. Oh my god, that hurts so f***ing bad. Every time. Every f***ing time. Connect this wire. That didn't grab, so that's great. Should be awesome. This has already got in there, so that's good. Alright, hopefully the leads aren't too short. In with you. In you go. In the hole. You go. In there. Okay. The leads are not too short. Thank goodness, because that would have sucked. In the hole you go. So actually, we can test the power on that now, since everything is in place where it needs to be. And look at that, we have power. That's beautiful. All right, 2 things left in here. Actually, 3 things. Gonna make sure all these wires are nice and out of the way and glued in place, so that way they're not getting stuck doing things that they're not supposed to. again, gonna rapid cool it because I'm tired of sitting here for 20 minutes at a time waiting for this stuff to cool down. These don't really need to be glued down, but I think I'm going to anyways, just to make sure they don't come free on their own. There we go, rapid cooled. Nice and held down, still powered on, right? Yep, still powers on. So we're good there. All right, last little bit that we're gonna glue down is this wire. So this charging cable that keeps getting into places I don't want it to. Wouldn't that have just been too simple if it just fit in that slot? Yeah, that would have been just really neat. But instead it said no. So basically there's like a little slot here. Probably widen that out a bit, I suppose. So why don't we do that, I guess, would be the answer. Right? With the big, huge drill bit. Even though that's not really what's required here. I'm trying to get it to have a nice tight fit in there. Still didn't really do it. Let's see. Almost. Almost in there. Okay, yep, there we go. So now, this charging cable, basically, when you need to go charge it, where did I put that stupid thing? Basically, when you need to go charge the Bluetooth accessory, you just come in here and plug it into the side like this. And let's just make sure that that's functioning still. Just considering that I did all that. So, little charger, plugs in, yep, turns red, is indeed charging the battery, so we're good there. Now, I'll keep the fan plugged in just in case I need to solder something. All right, so this works, and then we can just pull this bad boy out, and good to go. So that's nice. That's a good little feature right there. I didn't even think about that being an option, so that's cool. I'm gonna just give it a little bit of hot glue just to make sure it stays in place. Yeah, that's a good spot for that. It all looks pretty good. And this cable still will coil up in there. I've tested it actually with a whole battery pack in here, so that cable does have all that excess room back here too, so this guy shouldn't really go anywhere. So that's good. All right, flipping it back over. I still want that buck circuit out of here. That's still bothering me. It's still bothering me quite a bit to have that buck circuit in here. I did have a piece of plastic that was missing on one of these. Oh, it's over there. You know what? We're gonna hot glue that. I'm not sure that it'll hold it forever, but at least it's better than not having that piece of plastic there. Super jumbo parts. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Go into the parts bin for this guy, since I have now a parts bin for this guy. Let's see. I know I found it last video. There it is. Just that little guy. That little guy is one of the heads to the pillars over here, and that keeps, basically it's these little nubbins right there, and that keeps it from, that keeps like the screw nice and taut. So that hole wasn't really doing anything for the box anymore because the screw couldn't do anything. But since we have glue out, even though it may not hold forever, I'm sure if I JB welded it, it would, but this should do just fine for now. We'll just give her a little dab of glue kind of around the edges here. Because I don't want to have to go through with the, have a hard time getting through with the screw. I mean, I will, but I don't want to have a super hard time getting through with the screw. Okay, a little dab of glue. Pretty much expected that to burn me. It did not though, surprisingly. Don't know how that's possible. It's nice though, never had that happen before. Seems to be lined up well enough to be doing its job. Just give it a little bit extra on the edges here. Yeah, kind of like that. Just on real broken piece. Okay, I'm gonna go grab a flathead and see if we can't pry this guy out of here, because I really don't like it being in here, so I'll be right back. Okay, I came back with the flathead. Let's see if, oh, look at that. I think we're gonna have no doodad in here anymore, which will be nice. Ah, the corner beads are what held it the most. That's crazy. I figured the underneath would be the point of contention here, and the issue with getting this thing out of here, but seems like the corner points really held it very well. See, that's why I put that extra dab around the corners. Now, it would have been great if it had actually worked out as well as I was hoping it would. We're not breaking anything, are we? That sounded like it. I mean, we could break the chip. I have like 10 of these things, but look at that. Came off nice and not clean, but it came off, so that's nice. Just got a little bit of glue to work off here. And see, this is why I do use hot glue for certain things, because, you know, I'm not saying it's going to come off super clean and pretty anymore, but it does come off, and that is important for exactly this reason. With hot glue, you could just use a heat gun, but that's at risk of warping the plastic and pretty much ruining the case, so we're not doing that. We're just going to go ahead and pry up some of it. I'm not going to pry up even probably all of it, just because I don't want to accidentally jam into something or break anything and then start a whole nother process. So pretty much just pulling off what I can, all the like big chunks. So now we got most of the big stuff removed out of here. At least I could feel like comfortable with it looking somewhat halfway decent, instead of having a bunch of shit in here that's unnecessary. I do not have grip strength in those two fingers like that. Okay, there we go. So most of it's off. I'm gonna clean up this area a little bit here, so that way I can get the other half of the box in here. And then we're gonna test her out before we put everything back, because we learned our lesson with that this first time. If everything goes well with the tests, we should be able to put her back together, and we should have a Bluetooth 1980s boombox. Time to bring over the big guy. Come on, little guy. There's a big old testy poo coming. I need you guys to stay in place, please. Please and thank you. Like right there. That's where I need you guys to stay, especially when we go to close this thing up. Okay. All right. Move my rolling chair. Okay, easy now. Easy. Yeah, that should fit just fine next to that subwoofer. Good. Very good. Things might actually be working this time for me. That's great. You know, me and my best friend, when we used to work on projects as kids, we never really planned anything out. And a lot of the time, excuse my head here for a second, a lot of the time it wouldn't work out. And I feel like that kind of thought has haunted my mind since then. So I'm always like, oh gosh, is this going to work out, or am I screwed? But eventually I feel like things usually work out. You just got to be more patient and think a little bit harder about the things you're trying to accomplish. Okay, everything is hooked up. Plug her in. See what she's got. Cross your fingers there's no goofy hums or any of that crap. Alright, so we're on. Got power. That hum is normal. I actually have some ground loop isolators for those. Not a big deal. Let's see what happens. Gonna connect to Bluetooth. Oh shiz. Oh shiz.
Obvious ways, would it get you to stay? Would it get you to stay?
All right. Guess what we have? Bluetooth. We have Bluetooth. So, next thing to do would be to unplug the box and then put the box back together. I have nothing else to do. She works. Admittedly well. So we just unplug that or turn that off. The only reason I'm re-unplugging it is so that way I can put a towel underneath, because I try and mar up this face on this box as least as possible, considering how nice it is still. Okay, lay it down gently. Unplug that. Unplug that. Unplug that. Okay. I'm actually going to coat these cables real quick though. Make sure that they're not able to touch anything. So I'm coating the solder that I did just to make sure, because these cables are open a little bit. And since the hot glue gun's still nice and hot, basically I'm just creating a shield so that way there's not as much noise that can get through those. And since we're at it, may as well ditch this whole tape idea. Okay, let me get a towel to set down and then we're gonna start putting this thing back together, because we now know that she works. So that is amazing. I am stoked. So glad that something I did finally worked out. Now, I guess part of my concern right now is that even though that part worked, is everything going to fit together nicely? I don't know. That's the question that has yet to be answered. Is, do we know, and will we know, and how is everything going to fit together? Will it just kind of come crashing down on my face, or are we good? So let's put this handle in correctly. Let's see here. These little rings on this plastic go in this way towards the box, or towards the front face, not the rear. They only slide in, I think, this way. Okay, yeah, that should be good. They're nice and seated from what I can tell. Yeah. Okay. Let's bring the back in here and get her all buttoned up. Hopefully I'm not blocking your view too much, but I can't not be right here, so. Oh God, don't do that. Whatever you do, do not do that. Okay. Main board's power. In 1. In 2. Now we got our new audio cables. Red to red. Easy now. Red to red, I said, thank you. Black, obviously, to ground. Set to ground, thank you. And then white. What I'll probably do, just to make sure everything stays together nicely, is put some, ow, I keep hitting my head on the freaking camera. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully it's not ruining things too much. Put some electrical tape just to make sure everything stays nice and together until the next time this thing needs serviced. Yep, just like that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna guide this thing in nicely, gently, easily. Okay, everything's plugged in. Oh, she seals. She seals up. Oh my gosh, we've done it. Let's hear. Oh yeah, we've done it. Now it's time to just get all the screws back in and then have some fun playing with it. That sounded wrong, but you know what I mean. So we have all of our screws in. Good there. This thing's nice and in place. It ain't going nowhere. These are nice little ground loop isolators, and they just kind of like nice little covers. Typically, if you're not running any sort of current through it, you can run the center, which is a positive, and that'll also block the current. But since we are running a signal in through the positive, we do not need any sort of issues with that. So we're just gonna block the negative. Whoa. Whatever that was, don't appreciate that very much, guys. I'm gonna leave a nice review of these boys on Amazon and tell you what, because that was a lot of metal that just came out right on top of where the fucking board is. Okay, 1, 2. They fit nicely on there. That should keep those quiet for a bit. Look at this, isn't it nice? Looks nice and clean back here. We got the button for our Bluetooth right here. No other damage. You can barely tell anything happened aside from this guy and that button. All right, well, let's put the batteries in and give her a little test-a-rooney. Wrap this cord up nicely. Let's see here. These batteries in here. Don't forget our broken cover here, of which I still need to figure out what I'm going to do with that instead of taping it. And I mean, again, we talked about this kind of on the other video. This latch is broken right here. This latch is fine, but this one's broken, and that's not a huge deal. What comes down to the huge deal is there's these little like hooks that hook into these little loop latch thingies down here, and this one's also broken. So it's just gonna push up no matter what. And so I don't know how I'm gonna fix that. Probably try and do something sly. I don't know. Genuinely speaking, I might just run a screw in here and put like one of those goofy like drop down latches on it. Okay. Probably gonna have to add more tape for this to actually hold, but she's on at least. Okay, let me pick her up. She got a little bit extra weight to her now. Oh. Let's see. Oh, forgot to turn it on to DC. I always forget to do that. And DC power on. Nice and quiet. Ground loop isolators doing their job. Fantastic. Turn the Bluetooth on. Oh. We're in business. Let's see what we got. You can see what I mean. The visual EQ is not doing anything.
Don't want to break it down.
Now we have it. Now she's back.
I don't want to break it down.
Nice.
I don't want to break it down. I don't want to break it down. I I don't wanna break it down now. I don't wanna break it down.
Break it down.
Throw down, move it around. Shuffle your feet to the beat of the sound. Throw down, move it around. Throw down, move it around.
Oh yeah,
Shuffle your feet to the beat
we
of the
have
sound. Throw
a
down,
fully
move it
Bluetooth
around.
unit. That is awesome. Little button right here. Little ground loop isolators. Ground loop isolators installed. This thing sounds great though. I know you feel that same. Nice. Alright, so we have a functioning Bluetooth unit now. I'm gonna go ahead and power the Bluetooth off for now. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put it up on the stand. We'll get one final nice shot of this thing, and I will talk to you guys about the next upcoming videos. All right, we're gonna call this a good done deal, and I'll see you guys here in just a second. All right, guys, here we are at the end of the project. We just installed a Bluetooth module into this beauty, and she is working great. We did run into some hiccups, figured out what to do, and now it's working perfectly. Granted, you're gonna have to charge the battery for the Bluetooth module every so often, but again, it's 2600 milliamp. It should last a very long time at that. So, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. You guys can see the functionality, and then I'll bring you guys in close so that way you can take a look at everything that's been done. You can see that the front of the unit has not been scored, touched, drilled into, none of that. Everything looks great, and the only thing you can see on the back of the unit is one button. That's it. The reason I want that one button there is so that way you can still use the line in when you feel like not using Bluetooth. So that way, let's say, I don't know why, but you need to plug it into a CD player, or you need to plug it into a record player. You can still do that, but you'll also have the Bluetooth capability. So we'll go ahead and click her on. Yep, she's on right now. Beautiful. Go ahead and play one of my other songs, since we're all getting tired of hearing probably the same exact one over and over again. Okay, we're gonna turn on the Bluetooth module. She'll connect real quick here. We're gonna hear it connect. Beautiful. And now we have music. I'm gonna fast forward for you guys. Let's hear. Sounds amazing. Working great. This thing still has its issues. And for some reason, every time we need those issues fixed, we switch it over to tape. We hit this a couple times. Now we have a visual EQ. I don't know why that is. I'm not gonna look too far into that. I'm guessing there's a load in the system somewhere. We'll take a look at those cassette tape players at some point. Yeah, see, it just dipped back out, so that's gonna annoy the crap out of me because I like that visual EQ to work. But, whatever. For now, she ain't doing her job, but either way, we have Bluetooth, we have a working module, we have a working unit, so I'm gonna bring you guys in closer.
Stay alert to news media events or local emergency alert notifications. Maybe we ought to load the gun now to be sure, huh?
Yes.
If I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with it?
Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. We got some other projects coming up here soon. I haven't decided whether or not we're going to work on this guy, that personal disco component we kind of mentioned in the last video, or there is a new boombox in town, and that is this guy right here, the Lasonic J1 Super Jumbo. I can't believe they called everything jumbo, large jumbo, giant jumbo. This is the super jumbo. So I haven't decided which one we're gonna work on yet. That one scares me to work on because she's a very complicated unit. But I am glad we did what we did to this guy. Like I said, maybe we'll get into some tape deck stuff at some point, just because I am getting a little bit bothered that visual EQ keeps dropping out. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.